Okay, welcome to the Unit 1 Study Guide, your first screencast of the year. This is how I go about having you check your solutions for your study guides. So you'll find this obviously on the YouTube link, and you can watch it as many times as you need to as I go through these specific examples. Okay, so looking at the first 9 questions, they are vocabulary based. So the first questions are broken into 4 questions per the 4 choices, and then there are 5 questions below with 5 choices that go with them. So going down, your first 4 answers should have been, sorry, you'll notice sometimes I jump around on the screen a little bit, C, A, D, and B, okay, and that comes from mean being the average. That's literally the definition that I gave for you. The median is the middle number, and the mode was the most frequent, and range, well, that was the difference between largest and smallest. For 5 through 9, we're looking at C, E, A, D, B. Our words for those, so data that is descriptive and not measured. So descriptions are qualities about data. The numbers, described using numbers, that was your quantitative data. Your spread out, we talked about that with the normal curve, that's my standard deviation. And then my element that is significantly different from other elements is your outlier. And then, since we're talking about measures of center, let's get one more color here. That's the same color, orange. Center is mean, median, mode, used to describe the middle. Okay? Alright, so for 10, 11, and 12, these were true, false, so you had to identify the comparison of the box plot. Sorry, I'm going to change colors one more time. So if we look at Hampton and Livingston are the 2 different fitness centers, they have the same median. So your median is that value that's in the center of your box. Here's my median. Here's my median. Those are obviously not the same answer, so this is false. Hampton and Livingston have the same IQR. IQR is the distance from Q1 to Q3. And if I measured these, and I could calculate them, but clearly those are not even the same size box, so these are also false. Hampton and Livingston have the same range. So now we're going the entire length of the box plot. This one goes from the minimum at 500 to 1,000, but obviously the other one only goes from 600 to 1,000, and so it's not the same. So again, it is false. Okay, so that's page 1. Page 2, more multiple choice. Using the histogram to the right, how many cars get 30 miles per gallon or more? So we have, here's our 30 miles per gallon right here, or more. So the fact that it's or more, that means greater than. So if we look here, we say there's 2 cars there, 1 car here, and 1 car here, and I know that because I can trace them over. There's 1, and if I trace this one over, there's a frequency of 2, so total 2 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. So that is B. And then number 14, a histogram and a bar graph are exact same thing. That is false. A bar graph, you're going to have bars that are independent of one another, and they can represent things such as color, like blue, yellow, green, or orange. And they still measure frequencies typically, but they're spread out. Whereas a histogram, the bars don't touch, or the bars do touch. Bars touch. And we're measuring intervals in numbers. Okay. Okay, so for our next part, we're looking at our normal distribution. So use this question to answer the following. So what is the mean? Remember, for a normal curve, the mean is always at, the mean is always at the center. So here's our mean. So the mean is 24. Now for these questions, these are our SAT-based questions. So when we fill them in, you can fill them in any space. I can choose the first space, that's fine. And then I would bubble in 24. For the standard deviation is our spread. And so basically it's another way, it's another way of measuring the distance in between our individual values. My eraser's not working here. So if I look at from 24 to 29, 29 to 34, 34 to 39, I am adding 5 every single time. So my standard deviation is 5. And now you could also put 5 here. You could put it at the front. You could put it in the middle. It doesn't really matter. But as long as you put in 5 and bubble it in. For number 17, Jake scored an 87 on his last quiz. So that's Jake's score, which was 2 standard deviations below. Below is another way of saying left. So it's left of the mean. So if I go down here, here's my mean. I know that value right here. And I'm going to go 1, 2 to the left. Here's Jake's score. And Jake scored an 87. Now I know the standard deviation was 2. So that means that's what I'm counting by. So if I wanted to go to the right, I have 89, I have 91, 93, 95, 97. What was the mean grade? The mean now is 91. So I would write in 91, bubble in 91. Okay. For number 18. Oh, that got cut off. 18, 19, and 20, I'm using the numbers that are provided. So I'm going to create a dot plot. So remember, for the dot plot, here I already have the numbers labeled. Let's see, that check their cell phone. So this we could call cell phone checks. So then for this one, 3, 2, 7, 7, 8, 10, 3, 6, 5, 5, 6, 4, 4, sorry about that, 5. Okay, now your mean. The mean is the sum of all the numbers. So we sum them, and then we divide by the number of numbers. So the sum in this case, when I added them all up, I've got 76, and there are 15 numbers, and so that comes out to be, when I divide, 5.07, or if I'm rounding up to the nearest tenth, 5.1. The median, we need to order our data from least to greatest. The nice thing is about the dot plot, it's already in order, so I have 1, 2, 2 3s, 2 4s, 2 5s, or 3 5s, 2 6s, 2 7s, an 8, and a 10. So the median is my middle number when I start crossing out the data. So if I work myself this way, there it is, the median is 5. The mode is the number that occurs the most. I can refer to my dot plot there. Since the most was here, it had 3 values. My mode is also 5. And the range is the highest minus the lowest, or max minus min, which in this case is 10 minus 1, and the range is 9. Describe the shape. So if we're looking, I have the highest point, which is the center. I know it's the center because it's the mean, the median, and the mode. And then I kind of have 2 on each side, 2 on each side, another one, and then another one, and another one. So it's not skew. It doesn't have no shape. It's normal, or another word for normal is symmetric. For number 21 through 25, you had to use the data sets that were already in order. So the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 10. And then you needed to compute the median. So we already did that before. So you should see this is pretty simple. Here we are, one median at 4. Now of my quartiles, so now I'm looking at this set and I'm looking at this set. Of those values, if I go this way, my Q1 is 1, and this way on the right, my Q3 is 7. What is the interquartile range? Show your work for credit. So this is your Q3 minus your Q1, which is equal to 7 minus 1 equals 6. Is your min an outlier? Show your work again for credit. So I want to know, is a minimum value less than Q1, which was 1, minus 1.5 times 6. 1 minus 9 is a negative 8. Are any values less than negative 8? The answer is no values are less. So we would say no. Is your max an outlier? So I go back up to Q3, which is 7 again. So 7 plus 1.5. Again, IQR was 6. 7 plus 1.5 times 6 is 9. Sorry. So 9 is 16. Do I have any values that are bigger than 16? And again, there are no, because no values are greater, because the highest value was 10. Create your box and whisker plot. So we have our minimum at 0 and our maximum at 10. Our Q3 was 1. Sorry, Q1 was 1 and our Q3 was 7. And these values are coming from above. Connect my box, draw my whisker, and then my median was 4. And this represented the group of students retweeted. So this is number of retweets. And then what percentage of people retweeted 4 times or more. So if I go to the 4, remember each section is 25%. So if I go to 4, more, so that's this way, which is 2 sections. Oops, not that one. This one and this one, or 50%. Because 25 plus 25 is 50%. And that is the entire test. So hopefully tomorrow you're feeling good about everything, and